Hi there, very good morning to all our viewers. You've tuned in live to this Moneycontrol stream. You're watching Newspresso with me, Stacy Pereira. Well, in the next few minutes, we are going to be giving you a lowdown on all the top headlines from across the globe, all insights from India, especially all those earnings that are coming up, and also the latest trends that are buzz. Well, this will give you an edge and keep you informed ahead of the others. So let's get straight to it and get you all that we're getting from our global dispatch. Indices on Wall Street edge higher in the previous session on the back of that cooler than expected June CPI data. The S&P 500, the Nasdaq Composite, both jumping about 0.74% and 1.15% respectively to hit their highest closing level since April of 2022. The Dow Jones too added about 86 odd points to close in the green. And if you look at the futures, those are also trading quite high, you could say. Among the stock-specific action, it was the banking stocks that really jumped, Citigroup as well as Goldman Sachs. Those shares climbing about 1.8% and 1.7% respectively. We also saw Disney shares, which added nearly 1%, extending trading after the entertainment giant said that CEO Bob Iger's contract will be extended to 2026, a 2-year longer than what was planned. And U.S. Consumer Price Index rose about 3% on a year-on-year basis. In June, the economists were expecting a 3.1% increase. However, on the month-on-month basis, the index rose about 0.2% for the month of June, which is less than what was forecasted. Now, even a pleasant more surprise was from the core CPI data, which strips out that volatile food as well as energy prices. That one rose much lesser than what was expected. Now, the softer gains in food prices as well as declines in used vehicle and airline prices is what has really helped keep inflation down in the United States, while shelter prices, those continue to rise. Now, the June data for the producer price index, that will be well watched out for, and that is due later today. Markets are now pricing in an approximate 92% chance that the Fed may raise interest rates at their July meeting, according to the CME's Fed Watch tool. And investors in Europe too reacted to that cooler than expected U.S. inflation reading. The Pan-European Stock 600 rose up to 1.5%. It was the mining stocks that added nearly 3.7% to lead those gains. All the sectoral indices as well as major bourses ended the session in the green. We also had the Bank of England, which released its financial stability report, wherein the central bank noted that UK households as well as businesses were in a safer position than they were before the financial crisis, and that they could squeeze through despite higher borrowing costs as well as the rise of cost of living. As stocks in Asia Pacific region are comfortably sailing in a sea of green too, enthused by that data. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index has popped about 2.15% at the open, led by gains in the region, whereas the Hang Seng Tech Index, that one has surged almost 3%. Mainland Chinese markets, those are also up in trade. South Korea's Kospi is trading higher by about 0.95%. Australia's S&P ASX 200 is also up 1.35%. And in Japan, the Nikkei 225 too has climbed about 1.24% in early trade. Even the GIFT Nifty back home here is indicating a higher start for the Indian markets. On the commodities front, as inflation cools, oil prices have gained, in fact, on hopes that the Federal Reserve may now have fewer interest rate hikes in store for the world's biggest economies. Now, Brent crude futures have, in fact, touched $80 per barrel mark. A factor that may, in fact, cap those price gains will be the U.S. Energy Information Administration's report of a much bigger than expected U.S. crude stock build-up, which could be nearly to 6 million barrels as of last week. And in a new EU-U.S. data sharing framework, which has come into effect from the 10th of July, it is being called the EU-U.S. Data Privacy Framework and is aimed to ensure that data can flow safely between the EU regions as well as the United States without having to put in place any additional data protection safeguards. Now, the move follows the 2020's landmark Screams to verdict, where the EU's top court struck down transfers between the two regions under the privacy shield over concerns of disproportionate as well as invasive American surveillance of EU data. The new data will also have a data protection review court, which will be established for the Europeans to issue privacy complaints. It will have the powers to order firms to delete user data if it finds that information was collected under breach under the new safeguards. And a volcano that erupted in Iceland on Monday afternoon after thousands of earthquakes was felt in that area. According to the MET, these eruptions come 11 months after its last eruption in that area. Now, aerial footage shows that streams of orange molten lava and clouds of gases spewing from a snaking fissures of about 900 meters. A 2021 eruption in the same area had produced spectacular lava flows for several months. Now, hundreds of thousands of people, in fact, have flocked to go and see the site. Now, Iceland, remember, sits above a volcanic hotspot in the North Atlantic and sees an eruption every 4 to 5 years on an average. Let's get you a quick recap then of all that transpired on Dalal Street yesterday. And we did see the markets fall sharply in that last hour of trade. The Nifty and Sensex both ending 0.25% in the red, with the Nifty giving up that 19,400 crucial levels. Now, the mid caps, though, those one continued to outperform. We did see that index ending close half a percentage point higher in the green, whereas it was the bank stocks that really fell, and in line with the benchmarks, you could say. IT stocks, those were the ones that were also the biggest laggards. But this really coming in anticipation of those results that we were expecting later in the evening. So we saw that IT index fall about by a percentage point. But among the stocks that you should be watching out for today, we do have earning counters, that of TCS and HCL Tech. Wipro will also be in focus. And besides this, Tamaco Rail, Patanjali Food, as well as Hindalco should be on your radar. And to more macro data, where India's retail inflation accelerated to 4.8% in the month of June. The number has come in higher than expectations, but still below that RBI's upper tolerance limit of 6%. The spike was driven by a less supportive base, as well as a surge in vegetable prices. We've been talking about high tomato prices for a while now, and food inflation, that one too has increased to about 4.49%. Now, meanwhile, industrial output, or IIP as we call it, has surged to 5.2% in May, which is at a 3-month high. Now, industrial growth has come in at about 4.2% in April, which is now revised to 4.5%. So that revision coming in for IIP of April data. And also, if you have to compare this to May of 2022, we are at when IIP was at 19.7%. So 5.2 moderately higher, but lower compared to last year. But let's get you up to speed with all the earnings. And in Earning Corner, we did see IT majors like TCS as well as HCL Tech report their quarterly earnings. Let's look at TCS first. That one was pretty much in line with those muted estimates we were expecting in any case. Net profits were up about 16.8% on a YOY basis, coming in at 11,074 crore rupees. Revenues have come in at 59.381 crore rupees, and the company's constant currency revenue growth, that one is pretty flat for the quarter, while deal wins, those ones stay above that $10 billion mark. Attritions too have ticked down, one could say, at 17.8%, but it's the management commentary which is quite important. And the management goes on to say that it will be difficult to gauge when the demand will be back and whether double-digit growth would be something of a tall order to achieve in this year. All in all, no major misses coming in for TCS, and we'll have to see how the streets really react to it. Whereas if you look at HCL Tech, that one pretty much missed street estimates by a large margin to the company's dollar revenue slipping more than 1%, and the constant currency revenue dropping about 1.3%, while the net profits have slipped 11% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, coming in at 3,534 crore rupees. Margins too have shrunken by 100 basis points sequentially, but the company has gone ahead and maintained that full-year growth guidance of 6 to 8%. While TCS has announced a dividend of 9 rupees per share, HCL Tech has given an interim dividend of 10 rupees per equity share for 2 rupees each. So we have to see how really the markets react to both those counters in trade today. But in other news, well, especially because of the rains that we are seeing, We have a Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal who called for an emergency meeting as the Yamuna River has reached its highest level of 207.55 meters. Now, Yamuna's breach would pose a huge grave danger to Delhi and its residents. About thousands of them have already been evacuated and shifted to safer places due to the rising levels of water. Now, Kejriwal went on to highlight that Delhi has not received this kind of rainfall in the last 2-3 days even, but the water is entering Delhi from Himachal Pradesh as well as Haryana, which both those states are witnessing really high rainfall. Let's listen into excerpts of what that briefing was all about.
माननीय गृह मंत्री श्री अमित शाह जी को अभी थोड़ी देर पहले चिट्ठी लिखी थी कि अगर हो सके तो पानी की दिल्ली पहुंचने की गति को थोड़ा सा कम किया जाए। पानी तो निकालना ही है, लेकिन जितनी तेज़ी से पानी को दिल्ली भेजा जा रहा है, अगर उस गति को थोड़ा कम कर दें तो यमुना के स्तर को और ऊपर जाने से हम रोक सकते हैं।
Let's tell you then what Elon Musk is up to. The world's richest man and CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and also the owner of Twitter, has now announced a debut of a new firm called xAI. Now, the goal of the company is to understand the true nature of the universe, is what its website says. Also, Musk and his team will share more information about this new company in their live Twitter Spaces chat, which will happen on Friday. Now, Musk seems to be positioning this xAI to compete with the companies like OpenAI, Google, as well as Anthropic, which are behind the leading chatbots like ChatGPT, Bard, as well as Claude. Now, the website also adds that the new company will work closely with Twitter, Tesla, as well as other companies to make progress towards their mission. And on a day when you and I are reeling through this midweek blues, here's the world's oldest football player who just refuses to quit. That's right, I'm talking about Kazuyoshi Miura. He is 56 years old and a Japanese footballer who just refuses to retire. He's the oldest football player in the world and is set to play for another season of the Portugal's Liga 2. Now, Miura made his professional debut about 37 years ago, and in his 4-decade-long career, he has played in several different countries like Japan, Portugal, Australia, Croatia, Italy, and even Brazil. Well, on the international stage, he has played about 89 times for the Japanese national team and also scored 55 goals. He represented the national side in the 1992 as well as 1996 AFC Asian Cups. Now, the James Webb Telescope that set out on a journey to explore the intricacies of the universe almost a year ago, well, they are celebrating their anniversary, and on that occasion, they shared the star birth in a way that it has never been explored before. Now, the images features the Rho Ophiuchi cloud complex, the closest star forming near the Earth. The NASA administrator said that within a year, the Webb's telescope has transformed humanity's view of the cosmos. And those pictures on your screen are really thrilling to say the least. And for all that you need to be watching out for today, there is the rejig that we're going to see in the NSE indices. Now, this comes into effect, especially after the dropping of HDFC, that it has merged with HDFC Bank, and that will be replaced by LTI Mindtree in the Nifty 50, and that will come into effect today. So we'll have to see those rejigs. We also have more earnings, of course. Wipro, the 4th largest Indian player in the global IT services, that one is expected to put in its Q1 report, although we are expecting a dull quarter there on a sequential basis as well. And of course, we have the exclusive interview with the TCS management, which you need to be watching out for right here on Moneycontrol. We also have Prime Minister Modi, who is visiting France and has already headed out to France to celebrate their National Day, which is celebrated on July 14. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition. Hope this dose of Newspresso was useful and informative and gives you that kickstart to your day. Don't forget to come back, same place, same time tomorrow for your fresh shot of Newspresso. From everybody putting this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.